Hello everyone, my name is Meta. I am from the Oglala Sioux tribe. I'm about 22, I think. Um, and one thing that makes me happy is hearing the rain. So anyway, now that the intro is over, like I said, I'm indigenous. I'm indigenous to the United States, specifically South Dakota. I'm from the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation, and if you see me constantly looking down, I have notes. Um, so there's this residential school called Kamloops that recently had a few little discoveries found. These discoveries being children's bodies. The original number was about 215, and now they've checked, I believe, 7 schools at the time I'm making this. I believe it's about 7 schools, and the numbers were well over 1,500. And that's only 7 schools out of, I believe, 139 in Canada and well over 300 in the United States. The United States has yet to begin their search as of, the time I'm making this. And it sucks. It's horrible. It's terrible. Some people are talking, why did this happen? Why are these children being found in their mass graves in these, Catholic residential schools? I don't want to say Catholic. I'm going to say Christian just because it was not necessarily just Catholics that ran these schools. But regardless, they had a Bible in their hand and they were praying over children's bodies as they, threw them away. It's horrible. It really sucks. It's even now I'm getting, choked up about it, just thinking about it, on all of those children. And, me being indigenous, I'm not sure if anyone knows this, but our connection to family is supposed to be very strong. These children are supposed to be like my children, and so I feel extra terrible, That being said, we knew that these children were buried in these mass graves, in, graves if they were lucky, and we knew that they were there. We knew that they were only numbers to these priests, and we knew that a lot of them died. I mean, look at how, the United States is now. There's a lot of you. There's a lot of white people. There's a lot of black people. But in the United States alone, the indigenous people make up 1.99% of the present day population. And, you kind of have to sit there and think, like, how did we get that far? How did they take down such, strong people so quickly? And these boarding schools were what happened. Because Christian people were trying to seek asylum in the United States, correct me if I'm wrong, this is just how I'm interpreting the history. Anyway, the Christians were seeking asylum in the United States, blah, blah, blah. And because of this, they wanted everyone to be Christian, their neighbors to be Christian. And unfortunately, we were those neighbors. I'm from the Oglala Sioux tribe, and we were one of the more violent people towards settlers. And I really didn't want to make this kind of video, but I feel like just now it's become apparent that a lot of people don't realize what happened. A lot of people don't realize how much of their history is being washed out and scrubbed and cleaned so it's beautiful and perky and, whatever. It sucks. But we knew. We knew our children were there. We knew, you know, our grandpas and grandmothers were going to be traumatized by the time they came out of there. And it sucks. I'm probably ranting now. Anyway, I'm gonna read a poem. Sorry, you guys can like completely skip this. The last part of this video is probably going to be just the poem itself. So you guys can, if you don't like poetry, you can, go get out of here. But anyway, these poems I've written for a long time, and usually whenever it comes down to it, I tend to create them in a bit more story level. I'm also standing, so it's kind of hot. Sorry, let me just find it. Okay, all right, so. This poem is called Come Home to Me. The title is also the title to a popular children's song that is taught to Native American children nowadays. 215. That is how many children's bodies have been found in a residential school in British Columbia. Now, boarding schools and residential schools in the 90s were not as you think. It isn't all a theory when I say indigenous children were rounded up and forced to live in these schools. They were literally ripped from their mother's arms because they were still being taught their own way of life. They cut our hair because our power manifested as it grows. Our mouths are struck with rulers by nuns who wanted only English to see the light of day. Even you lose a finger. Eventually, you lose enough fingers and toes to learn it. We knew. We knew those babies' bodies lay in that cellar, in that ground, in the earth beneath our feet. Those babies walked next to us every day. It wasn't that we were unblinking to the fact that children's bodies were found in an old school. It's shoved down our throats every day. It isn't history if your grandmothers and grandfathers needed to dodge bullets, to hide their babies in trees and plum bushes, to run from people who wanted to kill them. People hardly realize that it isn't history if it's your grandmothers who tell you to be colonized still. Go to church still. That stuff will bring demons to your life. Forget your language, your ceremonies for government money, and this brown bottle. If not, your children will be taken from you. We will kidnap your children and teach them to be good, civil children, Christian people. You don't deserve that. You don't deserve that only the You don't realize that only the changed ones survived. Only the changed ones got to see their families again, and only the changed ones got to live. It was my great-grandmother who decided my line wasn't done resisting, and her anger and tears flow through me. It was the children that we carried in our bellies that they took, and only the changed ones came back to us alive. This isn't news because we hear about it every day. Don't step in the middle to step on the mass grave. The weight of my ancestors is breathing down my neck. My great-grandmother died before I was born. My mother says I'm just like her. And sometimes when I look in the mirror, I can see my ancestors staring back too. I lit sage for those babies that night. I let them know that they were not forgotten after all. Their resistance that had killed them now lives on in my sons and daughters, in my friends and my brothers. I hope our children will rest their eyes, knowing that we are still here, that I am still educating those who do not know you exist until they found your remains again. And the small voices whispered, "They found us." Okay, so sorry, I was getting emotional. Those kind of poems are really hard for me to really say, just because, this kind of stuff has been known to us for a very long time, and it's only just now getting recognition, and even now it's not as recognized as everything else going on in the world. Anyway, so yeah, that's my first, thing for you guys. I'm gonna go sleep or something, make some ramen noodles.